Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you both for being here today. This is an important topic. In my career, I've watched and seen the U.S. Strategy of engagement in various parts of the world: China, Vietnam, Dominican Republic, Haiti, to mention a few. It's worked in some, it's not in others. I echo what Senator Menendez just said about Venezuela. We buy $32 billion of oil a year. We haven't affected their regime one iota that I can see. I have three concerns about what we're talking about today with regard to changing our relationship with Cuba. One is their continued support of terrorism. Two is their human rights record that continues today. And three is their activity in arms smuggling. And we'll get to those in a second. I have a very short question. I hope you'll be brief. But, you know, in 2003, Cuba allowed Iran to operate on their soil. We know about the attack on U.S. telecommunications. Cuba is reported to have supplied intelligence services to Venezuela recently and its allies. Cuba has provided assistance and safe haven to terrorists, including members of FARC and the Basque ETA. They continue to harbor fugitives, one in the U.S., including a fugitive today listed on the FBI's most wanted terrorist list. Cuba has also helped Islamic extremists, including members of Hezbollah, slip into North America unnoticed. A Cuban state-owned enterprise provided Venezuela with advanced technology that used to provide illicit U.S. passports, visas, and other documentation to 173 individuals from the Middle East between 2008 and 2012. That's ancient history, according to the administration. But let's talk about recent history. Just since President Obama started these secret negotiations with the Castro regime since June 2013, there have been reportedly 15,000 political arrests, 2,500 such arrests just since the President's speech on U.S.-Cuban relations in December. And to make it even worse, between February and March of this year alone, Cuba has increased the number of politically motivated arrests by 70%. As troubling as that is, I'm even more troubled by Cuba's continued nefarious activities with regard to arms smuggling. We know about the earlier shipment of 240 tons of military equipment confiscated on the way to North Korea. But we are talking about February 28th of this year, 2015, a Chinese flag vessel, Da Dan Xia, was intercepted in Cartagena. Over 100 tons of explosives, 2.6 million detonators, 99 projectile heads, and over 3,000 artillery shells. This was bought from a Chinese arms manufacturer named Norinco on behalf of Techno Import, which is a shadow company from the Cuban military. The question is, with this type of activity, what assurances can you give us? Mr. Ambassador, I'd like you to take a shot at this first. You know, with this kind of continuing and current activity, why should we be optimistic that just by opening up economic relations with these people, this regime, that this type of activity will change?
Well, thank you very much, Senator. And I can assure you that just by opening up economic activity, we will not necessarily change behavior. It's a longer process in this. But in regard to the larger diplomatic environment, and Assistant Secretary Jacobson can address some of the more specific issues, in regard to the larger diplomatic environment, the fact that these ships were stopped was significant. The fact that they were inspected was significant. The fact that these items were found was significant and shows an ability to cooperate with our partners in the region to control and monitor this kind of activity. And this will deepen with time as people understand that the broader purpose of our diplomacy is not simply to normalize relations with Cuba and build a relationship with Cuba that will change how we try to promote our interests and democratic values, but that it's also about how we enhance the integration and cooperation inside the hemisphere. And partners of ours who have been leery of working with us around Cuba issues because they do not want to get caught into the vortex of a very powerful and historic animosity are going to be more open to engaging with us on this kind of activity. So I believe that we're actually going to be able to do more in the area of security. We're going to be able to do more in the area of non-proliferation. We're going to be able to do more in the area of fighting drugs because of this.
Can I ask a follow-up on that, Mr. Ambassador? So why wouldn't we, to follow up on Senator Menendez, why wouldn't we make that a prerequisite, that better behavior would lead to opened economic relations? Or, Madam Secretary, either one.
I think, Senator, if I could, We all want the same end. It's a question of how we basically motivate that behavior, or how effectively we can help support change. The president believes firmly that the efforts we made in the past, which were in fact to say you must change first and then we will engage, just didn't work to make the changes inside Cuba.
May I ask you a question on that?
Certainly.
We have evidence, though, cause and effect, of several other countries, Britain, Canada, others, having open trading relations with Cuba. We're the only one really embargoing. And yet that engagement really has not changed behavior. So what makes us believe that today our opening up of economic relations with Cuba will actually have that effect?
I mean, I think that's a fair point, and we don't know yet what the effect of this policy will be on the Cuban government. We do see already the effect, the beginning of the effect on the Cuban people. While we decry the detentions of the activists, we know there are Cubans who are benefiting from this new policy in their independent businesses and in their belief that they're going to prosper and have a better life because of engagement with the U.S. The other thing I would say is I'm very engaged with my EU counterpart and with my counterpart in Spain in working with them so that we can now work together. And when we work together, not just with our regional counterparts, but with our European counterparts, that is more powerful. And I think that could have a more galvanizing effect, but it will be slow. I don't deny that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.